Hello everyone. I'm Sridevi, Assistant Professor of CSC Department, Vishnu Institute of Technology. Here I'm going to discuss few Java interview questions. Okay, let's see the first question. What is object-oriented paradigm? What is object-oriented paradigm is the first question. So there is a chance that this question may be asked in Java interviews because Java is an object-oriented programming language. So in object-oriented programming, data will not flow in a free form. Everything, every it is completely based on objects. Objects which are having data and methods. Data and methods. The main advantages of OOP paradigm is modularity and reusability. Once an object is a well-defined class is created, that can be reused again and again. Okay, and there are some key features of object-oriented paradigm. In OOP, we follow bottom-up approach. That means we'll design most specific classes and then we'll go on designing the generic classes. At last, we'll design the most generic class and we'll focus on the data with methods to operate upon the object's data. And OOP includes concepts like inheritance, encapsulation, and abstraction because encapsulation and abstraction hide the complexities from the user and they've shown only the functionalities. Okay, and they implement the real world approaches like inheritance and abstraction. Some of the OOP languages are C++, Java, Python, Smalltalk, and all. So, for this question, you mainly have to tell that this paradigm is based on objects having data and methods. Okay, and you have to clearly specify that what are the various features of OOP. And this is the most general question. Coming to the second question, what is Java? So in the preparation, you will read lot of features of Java. Just make them as a chain to answer this question. Java is a high level, object oriented, robust, secure, platform independent, high performance, multi-threaded language in that way. And you can also say that who developed this. It's developed by James Gosling. Okay, so that's about the second question. What is Java? It's simple to tell. And coming to the third question, um, it can be asked in various ways. I have written everything. What are the most important? What is the most important feature of Java? Tell me about Java or features of Java. If they ask features of Java, and tell more number of features. If they stress what is the most important feature, then you specify that Java is platform independent. Platform independence is the main feature of Java. Okay, and we'll see some of the features. Here many were listed. You can remember few and you can tell about them few without any lag. Java is simple. Why it is simple? It is easy to learn and it follows the syntax of C and C++. Writing programs in Java is easy and it is object oriented. Why it is object oriented? It is following the paradigm of object oriented paradigm. For that reason, it is object oriented. That means it is using objects in which data and methods are incorporated. And Java is portable. That means we can execute Java program on every machine. That means if you have a Java program and it is converted to .class file, that can be run on in every machine. Platform independent. Suppose if you take up our old languages like C and C++, they need some platform to be executed. For Java programs, they'll run on any platform. Java is secured. In Java, we do not use pointers. Okay, because of that, we can say Java is secured. And Java also has the concept of bytecode and exception handling. Bytecode exception handling does not use pointers. Okay, and because of automatic garbage collection exception handling, we can say that Java is a robust programming language. and it is architecture neutral. Okay, you spend time only on those features which you can say in a very fast manner. Java is an interpreted programming language. It gives high performance when compared with the other native programming languages, and it is multi-threaded. Java is multi-threaded programming languages. That means your Java program can deal with many tasks at once. Many tasks at once. What is the main benefit of it means every thread will not occupy different memory locations. They will share common memory area. They share common memory area. Okay. And when we use these multi-threaded programming, they are used for multimedia and web applications. Okay. Java is even used to create distributed applications. With the help of remote method invocation and EJB, we can create distributed applications also. And Java is a dynamic language. It supports dynamic loading of languages, dynamic loading of classes. So among all these, you can tell at least 5 to 6 in a fast forward manner. It is simple, object oriented, portable, platform independent, secured, architecture neutral, interpreted, high performance, multi-threaded, distributed, and dynamic. Okay, the most important feature of Java is platform independence. And coming to the next set of questions, what is meant by platform independence? Why we call Java as platform independent, and is Java a pure object oriented language, or why Java is not a 100% object oriented language? In that way they'll ask. Okay, so Java is platform independent because of its bytecode. It can run on any system irrespective of its underlying OS. If I have a Java program, I can run it on Linux, I can run it on old system, I can run it on Windows, I can run it on Pentium 32-bit system or 64-bit Windows 10. Okay, so that is platform independence. Coming to the third one, Java is not a pure object-oriented language. The reason is in Java we have 8 primitive data types. 8 primitive data types. I hope everybody knows them. 6 are numeric data types. In among them, 4 are for integers and 2 for real numbers, and the next 2 are character and byte. Okay. So as we have primitive data types, it is not pure. If everything is object, then we can say that it is a pure object-oriented language. Okay. Primitive data types are not objects. For that reason, it's not pure. Okay, coming to the next set of questions. These are dependent on the software we use. Generally, if you install Java on your machine, you will install JDK. Some people only install JRE. Okay, so what is JDK, JRE, JVM? What is the difference between them? Mainly, they may stress on JVM. What is its significance? Okay, because of JVM only we are achieving that platform independence feature. Okay, and how many types of memory areas are allocated by the JVM, and what is meant by JIT compiler. Okay, if you want to see the relation between JDK, JRE, and JVM and JIT, with a Venn diagram you can see. With a Venn diagram you can see, if you are able to see this, JIT is enclosed in JVM, which is enclosed in JRE, which is enclosed in JDK. Okay. Full form of JDK is Java Development Kit. Java Development Kit. Show you through this. This is an important concept everyone should be aware of. Where is the picture? Okay. See, if you observe this, JDK stands for Java Development Kit. Okay, JDK encloses JRE plus few other components. One is compiler is showcased here, debugger is there, and many more components which are needed for the development of the Java applications. Okay, this compiler which is present in the JDK takes our .java source files and converts them into class files. Like how we do Java C space some hello.java. Okay, that Java C is nothing but Java compiler that is part of JDK. So that class files will be given to the Java runtime environment. The Java runtime environment with the help of Java virtual machine converts that class file. Class file is not a machine code, it is byte code. Converts that class file byte code into machine understandable form and then runs. Okay, JVM is the thing which is separating Java from other programming languages. Java virtual machine, it has its own platform. We are not dependent on the platform on which we are running the program. Virtual machine, that means Java has its own platform. Okay, so this JRE is dependent on the system you are using. We have to install JRE based on the system you have. Okay, this JVM encloses JIT compiler to load your code to memory. Okay. So JDK stands for Java Development Kit. It is a software development environment. It is used to create Java applications and applets. And JRE stands for Runtime Environment, in which the implementation of Java JVM is there. And this is the hero. JVM stands for Java Virtual Machine. It is the engine used by the JDK to provide runtime environment to run your Java code or its applications. Okay. Main function of JVM. What's the main function of JVM? It converts the bytecode, that means the dot class file, into machine language. Okay. And to clearly understand the differences, you can see this table. When people ask you to say about these three, JDK stands for Java Development Kit, and it is necessary to compile, document, and package your Java programs. And JRE is runtime environment. This is the runtime environment in which your bytecode, that dot class file, executes. Java Virtual Machine is an abstract machine. It provides the runtime environment in which your bytecode is executed. Okay. And JIT is a compiler. Java is an interpreted language, but JIT compiler is placed in JVM. It helps in converting the bytecode into instructions which are sent to the processor. Okay. So whenever a Java method, when we invoke Java method to run the programs, whenever a Java method is invoked, Java JIT compiler is enabled automatically. Okay. And the JVM allocates memory, and how many types of memory locations are allocated by JVM. These are the 5 types of memory areas allocated by JVM. We know heap and stack. So whenever we discuss about objects, reference is stored in stack and the physical object is stored in heap. In that way we'll go on discussing. But there are 5 types of memory areas allocated by JVM. First one is class area. It stores the class structure, that means the fields, method, data of the classes. Heap is a runtime data area in which the physical objects, allocated objects, are stored. And stack is used to store the local variables. You stress on local variables. And program counter register, you all know what is program counter, but it is used to store the address of the next instruction which is executed by our JVM. And the native method stack is what methods are currently executed by that application. They'll be stored in a native method stack. Okay. So this is referred as Vora, write once and run anywhere. So it is the Java has this nature. Through what we are getting this nature, they stress on that. With the help of bytecode, we are achieving this nature. Java compiler converts the Java program into the bytecode, which is an intermediate language, that dot class file. Okay. And the bytecode is not platform specific. It can be executed on any platform. Okay. Through that, I have written one Java program on my machine and I've converted into class file. That class file you can execute on your machine and someone else can execute on their machine. It is not platform specific. It can be executed by any computer. So I have written once and run several times on any machine, run anywhere. Okay, clear? So that's all about JVM, JDK, JRE, JIT compiler and all. And coming to the local variables, variable part, okay. Generally, we'll have three types of variables: instance variables, class variables, and local variables. These local variables are declared inside a method, or a constructor or a block, okay, and their scope is confined to that block only. Outside of that method or outside of that constructor, they are not accessible. So local variables are declared inside a method or constructor. Coming to instance variables and class variables, they are declared outside the methods and inside the class. Inside the class, outside methods, okay. A method which is declared inside class and outside methods is instance variable. If the same thing is made static, then that is called class variable. Okay. Instance variables are created per object. Class variables are created per class. Okay. Per class, only one memory is created that is shared by all the instances. Local variables are created whenever control goes into that block, and they are expired whenever that block is stopped. Okay. So there are three types of variables. So typically local variables are used inside a method or constructor or a block, and they have local scope. Okay. And coming to instance variables, bounded to its object. They are bounded to its object. Every object will have its own copy of that variable. For that reason, we are calling that variable as instance variable. Okay. Uh, And coming to the default variables, values of local variables and instance variables, JVM allocates default values to instance variables, not to local variables. Okay. To instance variables, it assigns default values. Suppose if it is of integer data type, it is a 0 for all those 6. Uh, and if it is boolean, it is false. If it is a reference, it is null. And there are no default values to local variables. Okay, there are no default values to local variables. So this question is what is a pointer, and does Java support pointers? Okay, when we have seen features, we have discussed that Java does not support pointers. Okay, when we have discussed this point under the Java is safe, secure. One of the benefit of Java is secure. In that point, we have discussed that because we do not have pointers. Okay, so to as pointers make the program unsafe, and if we include pointers, the complexity of the program also increases. For that reason, Java does not support pointers. Okay, Java is known for its simplicity. And one more thing, are arrays are arrays in Java primitive data types? See, we have only 8 primitive data types in Java. Remaining all are not primitive, non-primitive data types. Remaining all are objects in Java. Okay, so arrays are not primitive data types. This is a picture. This is a picture. See, we have 8 primitive data types, 4 integer and 2 floating point. Overall 6 numeric primitive data types, and one is character and other one is boolean. Remaining all strings, arrays, and if you define any class, all will become non-primitive data types. Okay. Okay. And I heard many people ask a question about main method. So these are the various questions people may ask about main method. See the first question. Should a main method be compulsorily declared in all Java classes? First, we'll see the structure of this Java main method, and then we'll answer all these. See, we'll write main method in this way. We will enclose the main method inside a class. See, public class hello. Public is the access modifier, and the class is keyword. This is name of the class hello. And coming to the signature of the main, public static void main. So main is a public method, static method, and returns nothing. Okay, and some arguments to receive command line arguments. Main has to receive command line arguments. The main has arguments also. Whatever arguments you supply from the command line, they'll comments it in this args array. Okay, clear? So these are access specifiers. Sorry, these are keywords. This is access specifier and this is non-access specifier. We have 4 access modifiers in Java. Okay, these can be written in any order: static, public, or public static. Okay, but void should be preceded before main. Okay, clear? Should a main method be compulsorily declared in all Java classes? No, we can even design classes without main method. Okay, if a class is not having any main method, then that class is referred as an object class. If a class has main method, then we'll call it as a driver class. Okay, so differentiate an object and driver class. Anyways, that also have done. What is the return type of main method? What's the return type of main method? Main returns nothing to the caller, so its return type is void. Okay, why is the main method declared static? Why we are keeping static? So to access any method in from a class, to invoke any method of a class, what we will do, we'll create instance of that class. From that instance, from that object dot method name, in that way we will call. But here main is invoked by whom? Main is called by JVM before instantiating this class. Before creating object of this class hello, this main is called by JVM. So we may static methods can be invoked before instantiating of a particular class. For that reason we made main as public, sorry, static. Okay, what is the argument of the main method? What is the argument? An array of strings. Okay, when we run java space or class name space some xyz, those xyz's will come and sit here. Okay, args of 0 x, args of 1 y, args of 2 z. If you do not give anything, then it is not null, it is an empty array. That also you have to remember. If I do not supply any command line arguments, then this args is an empty array. It is not equal to null. Okay, is it possible to overload main method? First of all, what is meant by overloading? Writing more number of methods with the same name in a single class. Okay, and we have to differ the number or the type of the arguments of that method. We can even overload main method. That is also possible. Compiler will not give any error. It is possible to overload the main method. Okay, does the order of public and static declaration matter in the main method? Order of public and static is not a matter, but void has to be before main. Okay, why it has main is preceded by 3 keywords. Why main should be public, why main should be static, why main should be void. We have discussed these two, static and void. Because main returns nothing, its return type is void. Main has to be invoked before instantiating the enclosing class, so it is static. And main is called by JVM, which is from the outside environment. For that reason it made public. Okay, so all those points I have specified here, you can go through them. And the next set of question is, what's the difference between procedural and object oriented programming language? So when this is asked, you just remember your C programming and Java programming languages. In C programming, what we used to do, we used to write lot of functions and we used to pass the data in between those functions. Data used to data used to flow very freely in your C program. Okay, so procedural programming is a combination of functions in which the parameters are passed in between. Coming to object oriented programming, we will not make the data flow very freely around the program. It's a combination of objects, and those objects encapsulate the data and methods, attributes and operations. Okay, and objects interact with one another through message passing. Objects interact with one another through message passing, and these are the various differences between POP and OOP. So in POP, what we used to do, program is divided into small parts called functions. Here the program is divided into objects. In POP, we'll write main, from that we'll write the different functions. And in bottom-up approach, OOP follows bottom-up approach. We'll design the specific classes and then we'll design the generic classes in that way. In POP, we do not have any access modifiers like public, private, and protected, but in OOP we have them. Okay, adding data and functions are not easy in POP, and coming to OOP, it is very easy. And OOP is more secure when compared with POP. And we can overload in OOP, but it is not possible in POP. Okay, and some of the examples and the most important point is OOP is based on the real world objects and all, but POP is not based on the real world things. So that's all for this video, and